castellano porque como es mi lengua, voy muy rápido.
Ah, yo comprendo, hablar es un poquito más difícil. Pienso que Julio está entrando. Hoy vamos a tener algo un poquito diferente. Hola Julia, ¿cómo estás?
Buenos días a todos. Disculpen la demora, tuvimos un problema técnico. ¿Cómo están?
No hay problema, ¿podemos
empezar? Sí, sí.
Buen día a todos. Espero que estén todos bien, sobre todo en este periodo. Hoy vamos a analizar dos instrumentos un poquito diferentes del contexto de la política de innovación. Uno que se refiere al análisis de redes, que permite evaluar los padrones de cooperación, establecer relaciones de vinculación entre mercado, tecnología, lo que es un proceso fundamental para percibir cómo podemos combinar y mezclar las competencias científicas, las competencias industriales y mesmo los padrones de cooperación dentro de la industria. Y el segundo es algo que Ani has creado muy recientemente, que es el portal de innovación. El portal de innovación es una plataforma, en primer lugar, para la difusión de conocimiento y de competencias. Es casi como una plantilla donde todos que son relevantes dentro del sistema de innovación se presentan. Y sabemos en la universidad que cada uno está haciendo en las empresas que son los intereses en términos de innovación, inversión y de desarrollo. Y con eso nos permite crear un instrumento que facilita las conexiones entre los actores. Muchas de las veces lo que nos habíamos percibido es que no sabemos que nuestro vecino está trabajando. Por tanto, habíamos intentado crear un instrumento para facilitar eso. Y también para, de una forma secundaria, inducir algo que es muy importante, especialmente en nuestros países, que necesitan de desarrollar su sistema de innovación, y que es el mercado tecnológico. Necesitamos de crear procura por productos tecnológicos para soportar el crecimiento y desarrollo de nuestras startups. Eso es muy importante. Más que me aturar a mí, entender que me oír a mí. Hoy el verdadero experto es Américo, que está aquí conmigo. Es un placer pues, presentar a Américo. Américo es un tío estupendo, con grande competencia técnica. Pues compartirá con vosotros cómo construimos las análisis de redes y sobre todo cómo habemos establecido el portal de innovación. Es el cerebro por detrás de toda la estructura y la arquitectura, y por eso el mérito, el palco debe ser de ello, no mío. Pues agradezco a todos, te digo gracias por estar con nosotros más una vez, y nos veremos en 15 días. Ahora es lo tiempo de Américo. Américo, todo tuyo.
Hi everyone.
Cuando vaya a Argentina vas conmigo.
And I'm going to start speaking Spanish as well because my Spanish is terrible. I'm so sorry. I have to speak in English. I will try to.
Si prefieres portugués, si preferéis portugués, Américo puede intentar hablar portugués. ¿Cómo prefieres?
It's up to you. For me,
Argentina,
it doesn't matter.
¿Cómo prefieres?
Portuguese sometimes it's pretty difficult to understand. So.
Inglés está bien, me parece, Américo. No sé.
¿Inglés?
¿Inglés prefieren?
Sí. Perfecto,
I'll speak slowly as well. So okay. So my apologies. If I go to Argentina with Alexander, I will try to speak Spanish on that time. So we have, I don't know, like 6 months at least. So I'll try to improve my Spanish. Maybe we'll start with Gephi, which is the software that Alexander told you about rearranging networks with the graph theory. For that, I will share my screen. Okay. I think you are seeing the screen, right? Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. Okay. So for starts, I'll give you an introduction to GEFI, but not to the policy network when applied to the organizational theory, to an organizational analysis. That's really theoretical. It has a really complex mathematical approach. I'll give you an introduction to the way that we do it also, which is with the approach from the social sciences, for directly to policy making. And that's what matters. It matters for us to have tools that allow us to achieve a good monetization system, a good information system, and a good evaluation of our programs and projects and politics when they are still occurring and being developed. So I'll not give you a theoretical approach, but I will leave you with two different sources for you to deepen your field of view if you want. So you can read them. They are available worldwide. The first one is really well known in the field of public policy. It's the Oxford Handbook of Public Policy, and it has at least 2 chapters by Friedman that really speak in an introductional manner about network policy. You can just read furthermore, and each one of those chapters have really more information, more sources from where you can depart and just deepen your field of view when regards to the graph theory or network theory applied to an organizational analysis. So the other one is the GEFI white paper, and that's all about what we are going to speak today. Because the main result of this presentation is to give you a step-by-step approach on how to reach this stage, how to reach this visualization. So this is a graph. What we have here is a group of small balls that we'll call nodes, and every one of them has a label, and they represent a relationship with one another. So here we have the representation of Les Miserables. This wasn't made by me. This is a sample that is provided by the software that you can just experiment yourself with, and I will give you a tour later. And here you can understand that we are projecting every character that it is in the book. And we are projecting the relationships that are between those characters. So Valjean really pops up because he's a main character, and he develops different relationships, but not with everyone, because he doesn't speak with the Zéphine, he doesn't speak with the Listolier, but he does speak with Fantine. And he has a really more approachable relationship with Cosette, with Marius, with Javert. That's just really obvious by looking at this graph, right? So there are 2 main and different things. They are the approximation between the 2 characters within the balls that we'll call nodes, and the thickness of the line that connects them, the thickness of that line that we'll call edge. So the more the thickness, the more the intensiveness of the relationship between them. So it's a really good tool to show in a presentation and to get your points just straight and to make your point obvious. Of course, this is a visualization made for a book, but for us that work in a public policy, this could be approached by using organizations instead of characters, of course. And that's where things get really interesting for us, because you can get something really simple to show when you have like an interaction between 4 different entities, but you can have with this software a representation of more than 2,000 entities that will hit all the RAM on your computer. So for that kinds of projections, you really need a powerful computer as well. So to start with this tool, you have, of course, to download it. It's an open source software that you can get from just typing Gephi on Google, and you can download it. It's available to Windows, Mac, Linux, and you can just engage with the community. I'm going to give you the basic information, of course, but even I'm always learning, and I hope to hear your questions, hear from what are your necessities, and maybe even I can understand something new, because the community is also always growing and always developing new add-ons, new extensions, new ways of improving the intuitiveness of reaching to a point in an easier way. So I'll leave you also with some useful links, either for getting the software or to achieving some kind of quick tutorial. But if you really want to understand the tool, you have to spend some time with it, and you can just get a YouTube tutorial for 10 minutes and understand the basics, which is what I'm trying to do here, or get a 3-4 weeks course on how to be an advanced user or an expert user of Gephi. Because the interesting thing is that you can apply the visualizations that you get from Gephi on your website and make it dynamic, make it interactive, and it's really interesting. I'll show you some examples later on the end, but there are really interesting things that you can do with Gephi. And of course, on the end, you also have a glossary for the graph theory terms, because there is always something which is not really common that pops out, and you don't understand it, and you can get that reference here. The basic concepts of understanding a graph are the following. So a graph is composed of nodes and edges, of dots or balls and lines. We'll call the dots or the balls the nodes. We'll call the lines edges, and then you have to map out what constitutes a graph. For that, I leave you with the image on the corner below, and we can see that we have 4 nodes, A, B, C, and D, and we have to map out as well the relations within the graph. So the edges establish a relationship between A and B, A and C, A and D, B and D, and C and D. And once we map these basic concepts out, we can form a graph. And you can do it manually for the next step that we'll be speaking about. There is a simple way, really simple way of projecting graphs. For that, first of all, you have to start the tool by clicking on the icon, of course, after the installation, and you can start from 0. You can just save your progress and resume your work from that progress as well. When you start the software, you can even experiment with some of the samples that will allow you to develop new skills, or start from previous projects. If you click on a new project, you'll be redirected to a blank screen, and you have to click on the data laboratory axis in order to import something that we'll be working with. And for that, you have to go to data laboratory and then click on nodes. That's the first step, and then import a spreadsheet. This spreadsheet has to be previously prepared. And if you have the means to do it, I will advise you to improve the efficiency of your work, to work with a cross table. So if you have the means of doing a projection with a cross table, it will just be a lot more resourceful, because it will give you less bugs than the manual option. So if you have a cross table within a spreadsheet, right now you can do this exercise just by clicking on nodes, then importing a spreadsheet, and selecting importing as matrix. This is really important, or else it will give you some errors, and you'll not be able to do a useful projection. So just be really mindful of these steps because they are really important. They are the most important step of them all. Just by accessing all the options correctly. So then we select intervals, then we select mixed. We have different kinds of graph type, but the most useful option is by far the mixed one. So we have a perfect symmetry between the weights that and how they are distributed, and then just click next, and the data laboratory will automatically import your information and assess it, and you don't have to do anything else. Sometimes it will show you some issues, but you just have to make sure that everything is correct on your spreadsheets, and if it is, you will not have any issues at all. It's not frequent at least. And then you have the manual option to do it. So if you don't have a cross table in order to do a projection on Gephi, you have to just go back to that exercise of mapping the graph out and constructing two different spreadsheets. One of them will label nodes, the other will label edge. And on the nodes one, we have to input an ID number, a label, and the degree. The degree, it means the size of the ball, the size of the dots, or the size of the nodes. So right now, the label has no meaning because we'll be using the ID. So on the edge spreadsheets, we'll correspond the relationships within the graph between source and target. So I'll input the source being the label A corresponding to 1. I'll put a relationship between 1 and 2, 1 and 3, 1 and 4, 2 and 4, and 3 and 4. The type can be undirected. This is all about the symmetry of the weight, and the weight is distributed in an equal manner. With this, I mean it's exactly equal because the image just sets an example of a symmetric and balanced graph. So to reach that example in a manual form, we have to yet again assess the data laboratory and go to nodes and import the spreadsheet nodes as a nodes table. Be mindful of those options because they are not defaults. They will change just because. So just really be mindful of that. It's an open source software. Be careful, or you'll give out so much more of your hours than you should have. So just be mindful of that. Insert the correct options. I'll at least I think Ashandra will give you the PowerPoint after, so you could follow those same options if you want to project a visualization like this. And then you just have to follow exactly the same steps, and it will provide you with a graph, a basic graph, just like the image that I did show to you. But it's not exactly equal. So what we can do is assess the details within the overview, which is a really powerful axis of the software. Here we can assess different layouts. Layouts just mean the disposition of the graph itself. The most common one, and the one that I'm going to speak about, is the Force Atlas 2. And it distributes the graph not only by the weight or the degree, not only by the dimension of this of the nodes and the thickness of the edge. The approximation between the nodes also means something. So for this example, the approximation is exactly equal, of course, because the weight is equal as well. If you notice that I just did some changes to the scaling, is because you have to assess those details each time you project a different layout. You have to rearrange the details in order to have your personalized visualization to get to the point that you want to be in. And then I can assess the appearance as well. I can change the label. I can change the size of the nodes and even the colors of the nodes as well. Of course, this is a really fast and quick approach to the software. It really takes some time and experimentation to get a grip on the software itself. And I'm going to give you a guided tour to the sample that I showed you before, because it's much more useful than seeing just a freezed and a PowerPoint, which is not a so dynamic approach for what I want to show you. For that, I'm just going to ask you for a minute to share my screen. I think now you can see it.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So this is the first thing that you will see when you project the software. And of course, as I told you before, you can choose so many options between them. Now we're going to try it and project the Les Miserables graph that we saw before. And as you can see, if you are on the overview side, it's not the same as the projection that I showed you before, where is all really well arranged and the labels are equally distributed. It's really more pretty. It's just because the overview is a tool for getting to that point. So here you address things like the layout, you address the appearance, the basic elements of the appearance. And on the preview, you'll assess the appearance itself, the more core details in regards to the embellishment of the graph. So in a quick intro, I can show you that in a fast way, you can change the label just by clicking the label to show the node labels. And then if you want to drag your cursor, you can just establish different sizes of the label, or you can click on top of the label on the default label itself, and you can change each detail that you want to get to the results that you wish for. Of course, you can use different layouts to arrive to different results, to achieve different results. So I can click on expansion to just expand my graph, or I can click on contraction to just contract it, of course. Then I have other tools within the layout to provide you with the overlap tool, to provide you with a chance to try to stop the overlap of the nodes or try to stop the overlap of the labels. And of course, just let me go to the first. Exactly. You can also, if you wish to, you can drag the nodes for where you want them to be. You have to be careful when using the software because it doesn't have, as the Microsoft tools like Word or something like that, or Excel, it doesn't have a backwards button. So it won't give you a chance to go back to your previous work. you have to save it in order to go back. So each time that you do something bad, each time that you do something by mistake, you have to go to file and start from the file that you saved before. There isn't any way of going back on the tool, so be mindful of that. Just save each time that you think that you are going to do something more experimental or more dangerous to your work. It's really important to save your work within Gephi. Of course, you have the tools to change the appearance to your liking. You can change every one of the nodes to the same size just by going in nodes, or just by clicking with the right button on top of the unique color, and just insert some hexadecimal code that you want them to have, or just by selecting a specific size to attributes to each and every single one of the nodes if you want them, or attributes a ranking. So before on data laboratory, we saw that the degree corresponds to the size of the nodes. The modularity class does something really close to that as well. So if you click on degree and click on apply, you will attribute different degree, different weights to the size of the nodes that you previously attributed on the spreadsheet. Then you have the edges, and you can do exactly the same thing, either to the color or to the size of the label. So if I want to attribute a weight to the labels in regards to their size, I can do it here as well, which provides you with some kinds of visualizations with some really interesting ways of providing a point. There are other layouts that are really interesting, but they do not implement the factor of approximation. So gravity is not a factor within them. So Force Atlas is the most famous one because of that. So the proximity between two nodes is a factor on Atlas 2, but on the others, it's not. It's useful in some kinds, but it's what makes Force Atlas the most common used visualization. I can make the edges disappear just by clicking on this button here, or I can create new nodes within the overview itself just by accessing this pen, clicking on the screen, and then I can just create new edges by clicking on the two nodes. So there it is. There it is. So I created a graph with no relationship with our main one, just within the overview axis of the software. And I can attribute different details to them just by clicking on this icon with the cursor, just by clicking on each one of them and addressing the details within them. So I do not need to create a whole new spreadsheets. I can do it here, but it will take lots of more time, as it should. And when everything is finalized, you can go to preview and take care of the embellishments of the graph itself. So here I can just refresh, and I have to refresh all the time in order to get a new, an updated vision of what I just did do. And I can select different options and I can save them. So imagine if you are projecting more than 100 visualizations, and if you want them to have exactly the same color scheme or font size or label approach, you can save them, and they will be here named as default. You can pick their name yourself if you want to. And every time you have taken care of the visualization in overview, you can go to preview and select the default label that you have chosen, and the color scheme, the image details will be exactly the same as before. This is really useful when you are just projecting graphs non-stop. And finally, when you want to export your image, you can do it just by clicking export, selecting the image that you want to, and you can even select a file that will allow you to address the image in Photoshop or Inkscape, and even get a better visualization, a more personalized visualization that you have here. So don't forget the options of resolution if you are exporting an image. So this is really important when you are trying to export really large ecosystems. So if you are trying to export an ecosystem with more than 1,000 nodes, you want a resolution of 4K or 8K. A full resolution like it is, it will not give you a good resolution for a presentation like this. And that's it. This is a short guide. Of course, if you have any doubts, please address them to me. I'll leave you with one good example of the application of Gephi, which is something that we are working on in ANI as well. But it's really interesting, and it has been developed in Spain. And the projection gives you a monetization scheme about the projects that have been developed in a specific region of Spain, Extremadura, and just by passing by with the cursor, you can see all the relationships that are developed with the entities that work there. So it's a really powerful tool when you apply them to a website, or when you want to provide a point within a presentation. And of course, it will allow you to improve your scheme of monetization, because we are seeing the Universidad de Extremadura. If I click on it, it gives me even more information that I can work with as a scholar, because then I can even import a spreadsheet with information with regards to this entity. So it's a really powerful tool. I can even show you another application. Okay, at ANI, we have a program that is developed with 3 different axes, and we wanted to construct a visualization of how many entities are applying themselves to those programs, and for that we did it in 2 different ways with 2 different layouts. So this layout is constructed with the Force Atlas tool. So the gravity approach, it's a factor within the visualization, okay? And you can see the difference. But this one is constructed with the WIFU, which is a different one that doesn't include the gravity approach. So, okay, so it's really pretty, it's really beautiful, okay? And it gives us, for our presentations, really quick and useful way of presenting who are the entities that apply themselves more to the program. And I can see that just by looking at the graph. So it's a really powerful visualization tool for us to have. With regards to the Gephi presentation, if you have any doubts, please present them to me. You can speak in Spanish. I understand Spanish. I just speak it terrible. Okay, Angelis, that's I saw your question. That's really something that it happens all the time. You have to install Java that version of Java, or else it wouldn't work. You have to go to Google and share and search for the 1.8 Java version and install it on your computer, or else it wouldn't work. If you have any other doubts about this software, please present them to me. Okay, so in that case, I will speak about the innovation portal. So the innovation portal was a project that we have been developing since 2018. Its main goal was to promote what is happening in Portugal with regards to innovation and R&D. So we wanted to provide in a really intuitive manner, in a really fast and just navigation-wise intuitive manner of knowing who is doing what and where in Portugal within highly qualified human resources and in regards to entities that are working here. So we did a segmentation of what we wanted to elaborate, and we arrived to a point that we established that we wanted something like an axis that would focus on innovation and R&D entities. And this axis would have the information with a detailed version of each one of the entities that work in Portugal. Another that would be a technological storefront that would show the projects that are happening within those entities. Another one that would work like a search bar for achieving the resumes of all the scientific human resources that are working in Portugal. And finally, a matchmaking tool that will allow the entities that are registered within the portal to establish a supply and demand relationship between each other. So the first one is, of course, the researchers. And here I can just share within a really large database of resumes a keyword that I want to find out. So imagine that I wanted to, I'm a new player within Portugal. I have an enterprise that is composed of and has a main focus, the main scientific focus on biotechnology. And I want to find new human resources with really specific abilities to work with me and within my team. So I can just come up to here and input the keywords and find out how many resumes work within this keyword in Portugal. And here I go. I find out about 2,000 resumes that work within the biotechnological area in Portugal, and I can just insert more keywords to even filter my results and achieve what I want to. And then I can just click on each one of the profiles, and I'll be given an automatically generated presentation about that human resource, and I can even know more information about it just by clicking and being redirected to another platform that just deals with scientific resumes in Portugal. So here I have the complete description of that resume. I can just know who is working in Portugal and how to contact them within the field of biotechnology, or another one that is suited to my keywords that I typed in. So really useful tool. The second one, the second axis, the innovation and R&D entities, is the core of the innovation portal. That is because here we did a work since 2018, where we tried to map out every single entity that works within Portugal with the innovation and R&D. So we have a system of filters that will allow you to map out those entities by categories, or even scientific areas, the region, the services, or the subcategory of each one of the categories. So imagine that I wanted to get a close glimpse of how many higher education and research entities that work in Portugal. I can just click that and I'll get the results. But I want to know even more. I can just insert more filters and get a feeling of how many R&D units are working in Portugal, and I'll get that result as well. And of course, I can do it just by clicking just by exploring, by using the map as well. But I can do it as well by assessing my filters, or just by scrolling down the list of options that has appeared to me. And of course, I can also use the search bar if I already know the entity that I'm looking for. And by clicking on it, I can find out even more information about it, even its contacts, the email information, the designation, the general category information, everything related to it. So really powerful tool to find out who is doing what and where in Portugal. And of course, if I go to the homepage, I can go to the technology showcase and find out what are the projects that are being elaborated, developed, or have already been finalized in Portugal. This is the beta version of the portal. The true version, the official version, is currently on maintenance. So next week, I'm sure that you can explore the innovation portal. But right now, by just a stroke of bad luck, it's not. The website is undergoing some changes, and it's not up. And finally, we have the technology supply and demand, which is our matchmaking tool, and here we can provide a glimpse of opportunities within supply and demand for technology, or for finding new partners for R&D projects. So the way it works is every single entity that's mapped out in the innovation and R&D entities can just go to this axis and publish the new opportunity for rearranging a connection with other entity within the portal. So it's a matchmaking tool. Imagine if you have technological needs in regards to electronics, and I want to find some supply for my electronics needs. This is the beta version, so I don't have any options, but the way that would be presented is something like this, and then I would have a description of information about what's being presented by the other entity that it's inside of the portal, and I can manifest my interest within that opportunity. So it's just a good matchmaking tool for establishing relationships within the supply and demand for technology, for business, and for the rearrangements of new R&D partners. If you have any doubts about it, please just say it, and I will try to answer it.
Americo, I have some questions.
Of course.
Regard to the researchers, do they sign themselves in the platform, or they are put there by some
Fidel, first of all, you can speak Spanish to me. You can speak
okay.
Spanish to me, okay? Funny story. My uncle is actually Spanish, and I didn't know how to speak proper Spanish until I was like a 6 or 7. But then unfortunately he died, and I stopped practicing. So now it's terrible. So please speak Spanish to me. It's good for me to listen.
Los investigadores se dan de alta en forma voluntaria en la plataforma, o salen sus nombres y sus currículum de alguna base de datos que ustedes tengan, por ejemplo, nacional. El problema que nosotros tenemos, yo hago vinculación tecnológica, y el problema que a veces tenemos es que muchos investigadores no quieren hacer vinculación o transferencia de tecnología. Entonces, no ofrecemos las capacidades o tecnologías de esos investigadores, cuando ya sabemos que no quieren participar.
I get that question. I'm already trying to give you an answer by showing some websites that are really interesting, and that's another maybe good practice for you to maybe adapt or apply. I don't know. I think you are seeing the screen, yeah. So we have. It's mandatory for some financial opportunities in Portugal, mainly those that are from national financial institutions, like the Foundation for Science in Portugal, or the Foundation for or financial opportunities as well, for a researcher to have a profile, a scientific profile, and that profile was constructed by those public institutions that they just came all together and just built this website, which is Ciencia Vitae. It's a scientific, just like Facebook, but for scientists. And every one of them that wants to apply themselves for these financial opportunities have to have a profile like this one. So what we do is we take our search bar within the innovation portal, and we connect it by out systems. We connected them to the Ciencia Vitae profiles, but just for those which are on the public domain. Okay, so the profiles within the Ciencia Vitae that are on the public domain, which are mainly all of them. There are some exceptions, but almost, I would say 99% of them are public, would appear on the innovation portal. And that's the way that we dealt with and tried to solve that problem, because it was something that happened in Portugal as well. The researchers wouldn't want to have these kinds of scientific portals, or they will be distributed by different websites with no connection to the public financial funding. I don't know if I don't know if I explain or give a proper answer to your question, but
yes.
Okay,
great.
Fine.
Y la segunda pregunta era referida a la tercera parte del portal de innovación, sobre demandas y ofertas tecnológicas. Una vez que se encuentran alguien que tiene una demanda y una oferta, ustedes o alguien hace como de intermediario, de traductor en ese proceso de vinculación tecnológica, porque muchas veces los investigadores, pero sobre todo las empresas, no tienen esa práctica, y hay que como guiarlos en diferentes cláusulas de convenios, cosas que pueden hacer y que no pueden hacer dependiendo de las instituciones que dependen, las que son empleados. O sea, es como que siendo vinculador tecnológico, quiero revalorizar un poco la función del vinculador tecnológico, ¿no?
Yeah, of course.
En este proceso.
And, that's a really good question. It was a question that surged on the design of the project itself, because we did think in exactly the same way about the way that we could implement our work to improve those relationships. And yes, the matchmaking tool has a dimension that has that support on the background. So, and it divides by two. So if you are publishing an opportunity for a national basis, okay, you wouldn't have that work or of technological transfer, okay. You'll just like directly publish your opportunity. But if you are publishing your opportunity in an international dimension, we do have some we have a specific department that deals with the criteria or the best practices that you can apply to your opportunity, either being by with regards to translation, or what could you describe that would improve your chances of having more manifestations on your opportunity. So yes, we do have a department that deals with international opportunities that are being published, but just with the international ones. We trust that in a national basis, it's easier. I think it's easier, and that's our way of thinking as well. In an international dimension, it's different because there are lots of European Commission rules that we tried to implement already for them to having a more bigger chance of getting international funding. So that's our way of thinking. I don't know if I answered the question.
Yes, okay. Yes. Súper interesante la plataforma. Estábamos hace un tiempo pensando en desarrollar algo así en la provincia de Salta, así que creo que es muy interesante ver cómo lo han hecho y cómo eventualmente podemos transferir algo para acá.
Of course, if you need any help with it, please we stay in touch. You can. I didn't left you with my contacts, but you do have the contacts of Alexandre. And if you want to know something about this, please just contact me. I'll leave him on the chat box, okay?
Muchas gracias.
Américo, tengo una consulta. ¿Cuánto tiempo a ustedes les llevó construir la matriz? ¿Y cuál es la proyección que tiene en escenario, en tiempo, cuántos años de prolongación tiene esa matriz, esa red que ustedes construyeron?
With regards to the innovation portal or the software, the GEFI software? I didn't get the question.
The software.
Ah, the software. So it's up to you. So you can apply that. I didn't want to touch that subject because it's more complex than I can address it right now in a 1 hour presentation. But you can apply, it's up to you to apply the matrix for the time that you want to. If you want to do a chronological analysis, it's much more complex, okay? I had to address it in another presentation, but we can do that if you want to. We can do that, but it's much more complex than what I showed it to you right here, okay? If you want to do a demonstration of, I don't know, like from 2010 to 2024, it would be lots more difficult to show it. But of course, it's really interesting in doing it. So if you want to project it in a website like what I showed to you, where you can just filter the information by year, that way is easier. But if you want to do a really extended graphical analysis within just one graph with a yearly basis, it's much more complex, okay? I cannot tell you this right now. It would take me like 2 hours at least.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sure, I'm sorry. Okay. Any other questions that you have? Okay. I'll leave you with my contacts. If you have any questions that you want to send me, or if you need something else, please be my guest. I'm always available. I'll try to improve my Spanish as well, and I look forward to see you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Américo.
Muchas gracias, Américo.
You're welcome. I'm going to close the meeting.
Nice to meet you. Hola. Hola. ¿Se escucha? Sí. Me parece que Alexander no ingresa de nuevo. Esta era el encuentro de hoy, así que, bueno, cerramos. Yo les he enviado material de información de la presentación de hoy, así que, bueno, podemos continuar dentro de 15 días. Muchas gracias.